Hello friend, this is Ryan Hicks of TaughtToProfit.com, and today I want to give you another teaching in the Destroying the Poverty Mentality series, and this is about the value of education. When I was growing up, I was extremely poor, and one of the things we were taught, and most of my friends were taught, and they were also poor as well, was you need to go to school, get a good education, and then go to college. That was the script everybody was being told. Some people's way of doing that would be to get a scholarship and go on to college that way. Some of it was going to be just to have to pay for it by working a second job or third job to get yourself through college and pay your way through college that way. But everybody had that mentality. You got to get a good education. You got to go to school. You got to go to college then, so that way you can have a good life. Otherwise, you're going to end up poor. Even though some of the people around us had degrees and we were all poor. So obviously it didn't work, or at least it didn't work for them. But only as I got older did I realize that education wasn't really valued. It was just this thing that everybody had been taught, and everybody had been put on this path of being a worker. They had been like living in a play, following the script of the play, and everybody that was poor was being told the same thing. You need to get a good education and go to college, then go on, have a good career. Work at some company for many years, and that's the way you become successful and have a decent life. You can't hope to be rich. Maybe if you win the lottery, but you can't get rich. No reason to be foolish. You got to go to college. And so education wasn't actually valued. The tradition that had been set up and established that people were following blindly, that's what was valued. Education was only in the mix because it was seen as the means to get to the mediocre life everybody was expecting. Because you saw education wasn't important, and this goes among middle class as well, that what happens when they get out of college? They don't keep learning. Many do not read ever again. They don't read any educational books. They may read fiction or something for entertainment, but do they learn anything ever again besides stuff, forced on them by a work, like you have to read this or you have to go to this seminar or whatever? But anything of their own volition to educate themselves, to improve themselves, to better themselves, does that happen? No, it doesn't. For the most part. Obviously there are exceptions, rare exceptions, but those are people who excel. They don't remain poor. They don't remain middle class. Those people go on to riches because they're just at a different level that no one else is for the most part. And so you'll see among the poor, education seems to be valued, but really it's not. You go into the average poor person's house, you don't see a library of books, you see a library of movies. You see video games. And that's sad in of itself because in Western countries, our poor people live like the wealthy in poor countries. It's amazing what we call poor today and how wealthy it really is. They're not going hungry for the most part unless there's abuse or something, but under normal situations where a person's mentally able, people are eating, they have entertainment, they got easy lives for the most part when they're poor. And I'm not saying being poor is easy, but I'm just saying if you compare to other countries where there's real poverty, where people starve and they don't have running water, and there's all kinds of basic little tiny illnesses that easily are cured in Western countries, and they die from over there, yeah, the poor in our country, the United States and other Western countries have it very easy. I'm not saying being poor is easy, but comparison to what real poverty is, our poverty is very minute. And that's a good thing. That's the way it should be. That's the way you want your country to be, where your poor people are living better than some of the wealthy people in other countries. That's good. But if you're poor, you'll never get to be rich unless some fluke, you win the lottery or something stupid like that. But you'll never retain any of that money if you're poor going into it, because your mentality will keep you back and you'll wind up spending it all, losing it all. Some tragic event will happen and you won't even be around to enjoy the money. But education actually being valued, that's a tremendous asset that you'll have. And if you do that, you will grow and improve as a person each and every day. Now, when people get to 25, 30 years old range, that's generally when improvement stops. Now you may say, well, I'm 35 and I'm improving. That's great. You're in a different level then, because most people aren't. Or they may improve spiritually or something. They have an awakening, they start following Jesus, and they become a new person. And that's great, and you should do that. But then there's no more real growth. Then it's just a lateral move from there. There's no real actual growth from that one point of time and experience of changing over from one belief system to another and maybe abandoning certain behaviors. And they know in psychology, unfortunately, that many times as people get older, it's almost impossible for them to make any changes. Major changes. Obviously, they can make a little change here and there, but major change is almost impossible. And the only real thing that makes a major change in many people's lives as they get older is a dramatic event. So it's a fat person that goes through life overeating, not exercising, they have a heart attack, then they change their diet, then they start exercising. That kind of thing. It's the person that goes through life barely scraping by, they have a foreclosure, they lose their house, they lose their family, then all of a sudden they make the changes and improve themselves to become financially stable. Generally, it's a dramatic event that makes a change, but it doesn't have to be. That's for average people. If you're watching this video right now, you're not an average person. Average person wouldn't care. They just go through life, they go try to find some get-rich-quick scheme, or they do nothing at all. They still play the lottery, hoping one day I'm going to win, and I'm going to get out of the situation I'm in. But if you're watching this, you obviously have an intent to become better. You want to learn and get out of poverty and get away from that poverty mentality as far as the East is from the West. And one of the biggest ways to do that is to constantly be educating yourself. Now, by education, I don't mean going to college at all. I mean you're getting books, courses, seminars, whatever it may be, to grow and improve yourself. If you're in a certain business, are you reading the periodicals and books on that particular industry to learn and be the best you can in it? If there's something you're doing, are you getting books and subjects related to that and learning and adapting and incorporating that into how you live your life and how you do your business? So a simple thing to do is just read 10, 20 pages a day. That will only take you probably about a minute a page. So you're only talking about 10, 20 minutes of your time. And if you did that over the course of a month, you'd at least read one book, maybe 2 books, maybe even 3, depending how long they are. But if you'll do that, you'll set yourself in an elite group of people that the average person is nowhere near. Now, obviously, you're not trying to compare yourself with other people. You want to compare yourself with yourself, because you can always find someone worse than you, and you can always find someone way better than you. If you find someone worse than you, then you can just say, well, I don't need to grow anymore. I'm already better than them, which is a terrible mindset. Or you find someone way better than you, and you say, well, I might as well just give up. I can never reach that level. Neither of those is a good thing, because you're comparing yourself to someone else. You can look at averages, see how other people do things on average, and then try to do the opposite, because average people are getting average results. So if they're not reading anything a year, and if they read anything ever, it's either a magazine or a fiction, maybe you do something opposite. You start reading nonfiction, and you read a lot. The average person's watching a lot of television. How about you watch none, or limit it as much as possible, and you read more and educate yourself more and improve yourself more and build yourself up more, edify yourself more. That is where you're going to get good results. And you're going to become an outstanding person, a person of, as Daniel was called, of excellent spirit. That's not around. That's very, very rare today. If you're an employer and you have to hire people, you know this. How often do you find someone that's excellent? You may find people that are good. You may find people that are even doing a little bit better than most. But excellent? That's pretty rare. But you can be that person of excellent spirit if you'll improve yourself daily and educate yourself and really have a true value on education. Not this value on going to school and getting a good education and going to college, and this tradition that people have been passing down for decades that really doesn't value education at all. It values following the tradition, not the actual education. Because if education was valued, you would be learning each and every day after college, after high school. But it's not happening for most people. The studies show that the average CEO is reading about 50 to 60 books a year, and the average person is reading one or none. Think about that. Why are people at the elite levels making the most amount of money of anyone in any company, and they're reading 50, 60 times more than the average person? And yet they have more time constraints than the average person. Does that tell you how much value there is in educating yourself, in improving yourself, and getting yourself to be a person of excellent spirit? I think it does. Of course, those same people also do not watch much television. It's very, very limited. And literally, so often, if you compare poor people with rich people, what poor people put a lot of time in, rich people put little to no time in. It's literally almost down the line. Poor people spend a lot of time watching movies and television. Rich people don't. Poor people spend almost no time reading books. Rich people spend tremendous amounts of time reading. When you value education and put it above entertainment, you can become an excellent person, a person of excellent spirit, a person who improves and grows each and every day. And you're going to become invaluable to your employer. You're going to become invaluable if you start your own business. You're going to become a great success because you're a completely different person than the average person walking around. You're in the top 1%. Maybe not financially, but you're in the top 1% of people in the world because most people are not doing that. And do you want to get the results that most people are getting? No, of course you don't. That poverty mentality of just following this plan, this tradition of men that's been passed down forever, and not actually valuing education, valuing entertainment and indolence over actual work, and not seeing work as ennobling, not seeing education as valuable and absolutely a necessity in your life, that will keep you poor. But you're listening to this, you're watching this, you know you want to become a better person. And you obviously want to get out of this poverty mentality. So do this today. Set a goal. Anything. If it's reading 10 pages a day, fine. But start getting yourself books, educating yourself in whatever it may be. Is it self-help because you need to improve yourself first? It's about your business. It's about some hobby that you're doing that you want to excel at. Whatever it may be, take the time each and every day, generally first thing in the morning. You could do it partially first thing in the morning, and then in the evening when you're about to go to sleep, you can read some more. But get yourself in a habit of reading each and every day. Non-fiction books that are going to improve you and build you and make you a better person, and do that each and every day. You will see a great change, and you'll slowly get rid of that poverty mentality. My friend, I pray this is a blessing for you. May God bless you richly.